How are you, everyone, today?
Great.
Good. All right, I wanted to share with you about this exhibit, how it came about, and the format of this evening. I'm going to be calling each artist to come in and sit down. We'll have only 2 questions. And if you wish to speak with any of the artists, you have some time at the end to mingle and ask them their own questions. Because it's going to be hard enough already. They're going to be on the spot answering, my questions. So, welcome. Why do we have a voice? And we use art to really use it to speak our voice, to share our stories, to share our histories. And this idea of ASWAT, which means voices, came about. My partner in crime and in the arts, Joelle, told me a few years ago. We sat somewhere, we were like, no, it's whenever we meet for lunch or just doing art or talking about art or different things. She was also on the board of a nonprofit that I started 11 years ago, and she's still in board. So we were talking about how it's so crazy, like we never been to an Arab woman exhibition or art in Boston. And how do we amplify our voices, just like anyone else? Because our voices matter, just like you and you and you and you. We all matter. So using our voices to really be part of the community, to belong. And imagine you're uprooted from your country to come in to another country, to adopt, to assimilate, to speak another language, to feel like you don't belong. You just need to assimilate. So assimilation is not enough. Integration is not enough. Adoption and becoming part of the community, it is. And that's why we're here together. And I love my community. And thank you for all of you coming here to be that one community. Because without us together, we can't have our voices heard. Because of you, we can make it heard, and we can share our stories and heritage and ancestral history. So my mission in life to really bring equity in education. I run a nonprofit. My artwork is really focused on equity and amplifying children's voices to share their culture, to share who they are, and to help them transform their life, to thrive and find opportunities, just like everyone else. Because once I was that kid. I wanted to dismantle, with this, having our voices heard, we really wanted to dismantle these stereotypes, biases, prejudices that as immigrants we feel. How do we do it? By sharing our arts and culture. Imagine going to Europe and there's no art and no culture. Would you visit Europe if there's no art and culture and no architecture? So I'm not preaching, I'm preaching to people who love the art. So to make this short, I would like to call, I wanted to first thank the New Art Center. Amelle, you're awesome. I know you for so many years. She's amazing. And the person who puts this whole thing together is my favorite person right there, Rose Perello. And thanks for all the artists being here and really accepting to belong, to be part of this voice, to be part of this community. So we'd love to call one by one, introduce you to come and sit down, and we can start the fun. All right. So Raya, Abdulnour. Rania, Matar. Thank you, Rania, for the community made us all come together. And thank you, amazing department. Yeah. Mohamad, Tassabehji. Sami, Wakim. And my dear friend, Joelle. And I am Sara, Mraish-Demeter. Yes, that's my name. I'm one of the artists here. All right. Let's have some fun. So I didn't read the bios, and I really hope you check out all the bios online, or there's like also a catalog downstairs with QR codes. I wanted to, discuss this.
But last but not least,
Sorry, Raya, I didn't see it. I missed it.
I knew there was
Raya, I'm so sorry. I didn't see it. I apologize. So, speaking of our voices and, breaking down barriers and bringing more inclusivity and belonging and bringing the community together, there's two questions I would like to ask you. One, and you answer each one individually, and then I'll do a second one, and then that would be it, and after we'll mingle and celebrate one another. So I would like to ask the first question. You have like about 3 to 5 minutes. Rose in the back will give you a hint when it's 3, and at 5 minutes would like to stop.
You have the time.
So the first question I would like to ask each one of you is, what aspect of Middle Eastern culture is represented in your work? Who would like to start first? Raya?
should I introduce myself?
Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Shanawani. I'm from Jordan, and I'm an MFA candidate at the School Museum of Fine Arts. I should be graduating this May. Within my practice, I primarily work in drawing and painting, and the aspect that is mostly represented, it's not a certain aspect as much as my identity as a Middle Eastern woman, and thinking a lot about the representation of our identities as Middle Eastern women through art history, starting with Orientalism, which was represented through a Western lens, and in our modern or contemporary day representation through media. So throughout my work and through self-portraiture, I aim to deconstruct these preconceived images, these stereotypes, and attempt to represent my identity, represent the complexities within our identities through self-portraiture and through appropriating a motif that is relevant to where I'm coming from, and that's Islamic patterns.
That's amazing. That's nice, Raya. And that's really what our education system doesn't teach. Historical facts through the arts. Thank you. Go ahead, Joelle.
I'm at the end.
At the end. She's at the end. Sami?
Okay. My art is, I call it like protest art. And it's like the art that I'm showing off here is a Palestinian kid showing, flashing a sign, yeah. And I wanted to show the resilience of kids growing up in war zones, and also the trauma that they go through.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
Amazing. All right.
He's also one of the 2 guy artists that participated.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the Sierra Wind Voices. Thank you guys.
Why not? Supporting the women. And you got a femininity
Exactly.
side of you. We all do. Mohamad?
My name is Mohamad. I'm actually a civil engineer, and I remember the first job site I was working on, there was concrete and rebar outside, and they said, it looks like Beirut out there. And so to segue into, most of my art is representation of buildings in Beirut that are damaged from the Civil War, that still have holes in them and pocket marks. And I think they're beautiful, and so I paint them and I put a lot of color in them. So I like to make them pop. The second motive is really to capture this part of Beirut that I think is disappearing. There's a picture of the Holiday Inn, which still stands, was built right before the Civil War started in Lebanon.
I actually saw it. I was just recently there. I took a picture of it. It's still the
Yeah,
same.
we're walking down.
It hasn't changed.
So it's a huge building and has huge holes in it. And I think they'll demo it at some point, but I just wanted to capture it, and they've become icons of what I think is home. The other one is a big theater in downtown Beirut that was knocked off. They call it the Egg. And the third one is the Rose House by the old White House. So kind of capturing these things, because if no one does, I think they will disappear.
Yeah. And so you're really celebrating history and keeping the ancestral heritage.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of that. And that's sharing your voice. Thank you. Rania.
Hi, I'm Rania Matar. I'm Lebanese from Palestinian origins as well, and American, obviously, like all of you, but that plays into my art. So my work focuses quite a bit on my being a woman and a mother, and my 2 identities, or my 3 identities, let's put it this way. I was trained as an architect, and I became a photographer to photograph my children. And then I stayed a photographer after September 11 to tell a different story, different narrative from the Middle East. And this stayed both stayed through my work as I follow my daughters mainly as they're growing up. And I've been focusing on girls and women in the US and in the Middle East in an effort to focus on our shared humanity through womanhood. So the 2 pictures downstairs are from the series I did about mothers and daughters. When my daughter left for college, I realized that my role as a mother was changing, and the fact that my daughter's growing up, I'm getting older, and it became important for me I turned all my personal life turns into my projects and my work. So my work focuses quite a bit on womanhood. Just to segue to what Mohamad said, my new project started as well. Is that my sign to shut up? I'm sorry.
It's the yellow game.
Don't say loud.
This is such a gesture.
You have another minute and a half.
The new work I'm working on was actually created since the port explosion, so it seems like all these events kind of turn into something personal to me, and I'm making a project called La Win Ruh, because I saw a graffiti on the wall that was said, "Where do I go?" And there's a major wave of immigration out of the country, and I was the age of those women when I left in 1984, and what had been one of the largest immigration at that point, and now it's happening quite a bit. So I've been going into a lot of those buildings, including the Holiday Inn. I know how to get there if you want to go inside. So this is that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amelle.
Hi everyone, and thanks for coming first. My love for art and my passion created Amelle. Amelle is a mixed media artist and a psychologist, and currently I'm an art teacher and an art therapist. And what I did as Amelle, I'm Lebanese. I just moved to the United States from Lebanon. And what I did before, I wanted to include the heritage of my country in my artwork. So I started by applying my collage, my mixed media art techniques, my drawings, onto old pieces, vintage pieces from my country, and to bring life to these pieces. So I start to make like relooking for the furnitures and to include like drawings of the scenery and the traditions of our countries. And bringing life to furniture, I mean like for example, Arabic people knows the karas al-khayzaran, the old traditional chairs. So I paint on them just to give them the new look. And also I painted on like the old pieces. I painted some like the abajur and the old Lebanese houses and the coffee cups, finjan al-ahwe, which is like, it's a traditional everywhere, I guess now. So, because I love to collect old pieces, so mainly to keep this heritage and to give it the life again, I keep it in my drawing and then I add some like Lebanese expression to it and sometimes our Lebanese flag. Yeah, thank you.
I'm Abdulnour. I'm a sophomore in high school.
She's the youngest female Arab voice in the group. She's the future of us all.
So this is
Big pressure, Aya.
true intergenerational experience.
Exactly.
So I'm a first generation Arab American. My parents are from Jordan and Lebanon. Ever since I was little, I would always go back and visit, my family back there, and it's been a big part of my culture. Like I got on my first plane when I was 3 months old. Like I've been there since I was born, and it was really important to me to share in my art and share my story of what it's like being an Arab woman and trying to assimilate into Western European culture, and American culture, and how it's really important to me to keep those ties to my heritage. But it's also very difficult at the same time, and I try to represent that in my pieces. This has been a struggle that I've seen a lot of people, feel and relate to. I've been able to connect with a community of a lot of Lebanese people around my age in Boston, which is so amazing. But it's still really important to share my story so other people can realize the struggle that, I go through and that people go through daily.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So the second question is, how are you using your art to amplify your voice and break down stereotypes and biases?
I think for me at this point, it's engaging with art history, engaging with imagery that has been perpetuated and perpetuated stereotypes, and to kind of subvert this image through my portraits, through my painting. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Me?
I'm going to close the conversation.
So how are you using your art to amplify your voice? Where to break down stereotypes? What are you doing?
Like, the reason I did this art is because like there's this stigma about Middle Eastern culture that we only hear about the negative stuff coming from this country, from this part of the world. And I wanted to highlight the positive part, like resilience. And there's like an old culture, there's so much culture, like it's one of the oldest cultures in the world. And I just wanted to highlight that.
Sharing the history.
Yeah, the history and what we mostly hear here is all negative stuff. I wanted to highlight that there's a lot of good stuff coming out of that part of the world.
So would you like to have your art maybe also shown somewhere else that is part of other communities, not just the Arab community?
Of course, yeah. Like when people first hear about Middle East, they always think of like backward people, like uncivilized. And, you know, like I wanted to show that no, there's a lot of art, a lot of culture. Like, you know, like the fact that we are all here,
Yes.
you know, like that shows something that is art.
Yes.
Culture.
So our voice matters. Our
Yes,
voice
of
matters.
course. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
I guess with the stereotypes, it's a bit difficult because the drawings are of destroyed buildings. So
You're playing on the stereotype.
I'm playing on the stereotype. But I add a lot of color to it, and I'm hoping that it makes it, I think it's pretty, so I'm hoping by people seeing it and seeing that it's pretty, it starts the conversation to say, what is this? Because there are scars that shaped us and became part of our identity, and we have to embrace it, and at least start the conversation with people and say, oh,
Yeah.
what is this building?
Yeah,
So
and if you
it's
don't know your past, you really can't, you know, be in the present or even the future.
For me, I saw Beirut that has a feminine quality to it. That's why I was like, this is perfect for this show.
Yeah. That's it. Go ahead, Rania.
Well, I literally became a photographer because I wanted to get away from the stereotypes. I mean, the whole, whoever, you know, she wasn't born yet, but when September 11 happened, the whole rhetoric of them versus us was very disturbing. Up to that point, I wasn't thinking about my identity. I was, you know, having kids and working, and then at that point, I started thinking, well, I am them and I am us, and how do I reconcile that? So for me, my work became all along about showing the humanity and the dignity and the resilience and the beauty of especially the women in Lebanon and the Arab world, because I think also a lot of the rhetoric is that we see women in a one-dimensional manner in the West, and there's an obsession with the hijab, the headscarf. And I photograph some women who wear it, some women who don't wear it, and it's a non-issue. It's a choice women make, at least in Lebanon. And for me, it's important to focus again on the universality of growing up through womanhood, of being a mother, of being a prepubescent girl, being a teenager. So the work, my early work was only in Lebanon, then I started photographing in the US and in Lebanon, and in my books I mixed the pictures. So there was a photograph that was at the Museum of Fine Arts in a show titled, I don't know if anybody saw it, She Who Tells a Story, Women Photographers from Iran and the Arab World. And there was a picture of a young woman in her room, and everybody would come to the curator and say, we thought you're only showing Arab women. And she said, I am showing Arab women. So people couldn't believe that a blonde, you know, young woman sitting in her room next to a Marilyn Monroe poster could not be American, let's put it this way. So that became the cover of my book because it throws people off. So just one thing I want to say about one of the pictures downstairs. The older women, just for you who like art, is Huguette Callan. So I think it's worth mentioning. And she's an icon as an artist, right? And when I went to photograph her with her daughter, I was starstruck and I was emotional. And she looked like she wasn't present, but so I got very emotional. Like, she's an artist, she's somebody I'm looking up to, you know, and she's kind of wearing her smock, but it's not painting anymore. So I started crying, and when I started crying, they both started crying. So I put my camera down, and Huguette Callan, and I'm saying that because we're with artists here, who looked like she wasn't there, told me, you're an artist, emotions are important, don't stop. So she gave me permission to make that picture. So that's just throwing women artists who we look up to.
Wow.
Thank
you for sharing that.
Thank you, that's awesome.
That's
Yeah. Moving to the United States showed me how women can be so powerful, and nothing can stop her. If she trusts herself and she believes in her own judgment, capacities, and abilities, she can achieve and what she dreams of. That's why recently in my artworks I'm reflecting the characteristics of women. That's why if you see in my artworks downstairs, it's all reflected the faces of women, the different faces of women. She can be strong, she can be confident, she can be powerful, everything. If she believes in herself, she trusts herself. Because this move that I did, it's really showed me how I can be so strong and I can show this powerful image to other women. And currently also, as an art teacher, and I'm combining my psychology to the art techniques, because to help my students to express their feelings, their emotions, their thought through their paint. So, because I do believe that art heals and art is a therapy, and whenever you're doing art, you are inhaling positivity and exhaling negativity.
Beautiful.
So keep making art.
Yeah. And that's how you're giving them also amplifying their voice.
Exactly.
You're giving them an outlet.
Yes. So for both
Great.
women and
Great work.
So for me, I wanted to tell a very specific story through my art, which is what it's like for Arab youths growing up in America post 9/11. A lot of, the influences, what you hear about your culture from people on the outside is really negative, and it just puts people down and it shows Arab people in a very negative light. And luckily for me, I have this amazing community, and I know that being Arab is nothing to be ashamed of, and it's something that I love about myself.
Beautiful.
But a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of Americans, they don't believe that. And I wanted to have bright colors in my work to show that even these, feelings that people can have of disconnection from their culture, it's no reason to just look down on everyone, every part of this culture. And it was just important to me to share that story because I don't think a lot of people realize how beautiful Arab culture is, and how, it's not just, 9/11 that happened, negative things about Arabs. It's important to talk about.
Yeah, thank you. It's truly about promoting love and getting rid of hate. It's like, it happened to us as Arabs, but it's happening to all kinds of ethnicities and people live in the US. So a lot of immigrants and refugees have, this shared experience. But we're here together to break down those barriers. So thank you so much for your time. And if anyone has an urgent question, we'll take one question if you would like, or you can mingle after. But just wanted to open it up a little if anyone is interested in asking if you have this one, question that you just you're dying to ask. Please do.
Looks like most of the artists came from left home, and with that, there was a lot of, I would say, set of challenges. So on the opposite side, here, living in the US and being an Arab artist, has it been difficult? Are there any subject that maybe you don't want to touch? And I've seen the Intifada, smiling, beautiful boy, and I looked around me, and you're in US, and you are in a particular environment that may not agree with your point of views. Let's be honest. So I wanted to know, are there any certain challenges that, as Arab artists, you face here, and you say to yourself, maybe I should not take a look at this subject or depict that image?
Is that a question?
For everyone, actually.
That's for you. I think that's for you.
So I don't consider myself as an artist.
It's a very,
It's
very
an
good
excellent question.
Very good question.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself as an artist, but
You are an
I
artist.
dabble
We're all
in art.
artists.
I dabble in art.
We're all artists.
Yeah.
No dabbling. We're
But
all artists.
being
We're
an
all
immigrant,
born artists.
yeah, being an immigrant living in the U.S. is like there's always this, you have to prove yourself every time, you have to work go the extra mile, work there's always this like, you know, where you
The
have to
struggle.
prove yourself.
Yeah. To make yourself there and
Yeah.
credibility and, yeah.
I had almost like a similar to his question that it's a big challenge to move like from really different culture to a new culture. So how's that new culture inspire you? Since you came from really oriented, like very old, ancient, everything, like a different thoughts, everything. So, and we know that the artist is, as we say in Arabic, in bi'a. So you move to really a big difference between everything, even the food, the culture, the people thinking, the vision, everything. So how that inspire you in a new culture, in a new country, in a new land? All of you.
You know, I'll answer this. I mean, I think we're lucky to have the two cultures. I think I probably, I mean, for me, this is what made me do what I'm doing. So, and I came as a student, so I guess it's a little easier when you come as a student than when you come later, because I was automatically in an environment where I had to meet people, even though I had to say I went from Lebanon to Cornell, upstate New York, so the weather was traumatizing. But besides that, I mean, I feel like by now I've lived most of my life in the US, more than I've lived in Lebanon. But I go to Lebanon and I go walk on Corniche and I feel connected to that land in a way that I might never feel connected here. So I think but you know, after a month in Lebanon, I'm ready to come back. So I think we're lucky. I'm grateful to have that. But I know that my kids also struggled a little bit. When they went to school and they had, like, my husband's last name is Mohamad, and you know, automatically it's just like, you know, but ultimately, I remember my daughter writing for her college essay that, you know, she always had a hard time deciding what is she, and then that it's so beautiful to be both. So I think to embrace it, I guess. I don't know if that's sounding cliche, but you have to because you don't have a choice.
I'm living those two identities, but you really embrace it. And
I think we're lucky to have it.
We're lucky, and we're here to, we're all coming to seek freedom and hope and better life. So we're embracing this culture. And we look for people to embrace us, to really help us belong. And so that's why we're here.
But you know, also another thing, I feel like when I go to Lebanon, the fact that I live here is an advantage because I'm able to see it a little bit with foreign eyes. Because I realize, like, you know, my sister-in-law would drive next to this building and never notice that it has been destroyed since the Civil War and nobody ever touched it. And I find that fascinating. So there's something beautiful about being able to...
Sensitive eyes. Like
to have the sensitive eyes to see it like an outsider, but at the same time to belong and be one of them. So this is, anyway.
So you're like shedding light and history kind of for the outside, but also awareness, creating awareness within the inside.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of owning that we're, you know.
It's great. Anyone else would like to answer?
One thing I think the U.S. does very well as a consumer nation is it celebrates everyday items, and like, for example, finjan or the rakwe, like the small cups we used to drink coffee, or the small bottle we drink water with. Like, the U.S. does a good job of taking that and kind of turning it into pop art. At least for me, I like to borrow that from American culture and celebrate small things in our everyday life in the Arab world, and kind of.
So that's why we have to do more art and always go and visit galleries and museums and be connected to each other. So yeah, thank you so much for all of you, generous to be here and generous to share with us about your life and your identity.
Thank you to Joelle for inviting
I want to ask Amelle about her collection that she made.
Ask Joelle. Well, here,
So
I'm
can
going to send it to you right here.
Here you go. I'm going to make a fashion show for you.
So this is the creation of this beautiful artist here.
Thank you. Oh,
So you saw about how you share your voice and your work. So
Yeah,
this is
it's,
one of the aspects of her work.
Yeah, I'm working currently on a new fashion line. So I'm painting on some denim jeans, jackets, and clothes, and beach hats, and
beautiful.
and bags for the beach. And yeah, I'm starting. This is the beginning, and I would like to share some of them now.
Okay, I'm very.
Yeah, thank you.
Fashion show.
Thank you for mentioning this, Joelle.
Of course.
Great.
Of course.
So now I'm going to turn it into my partner in the arts and crime to close us out.
Oh, guys, I am
Thank you,
so
Joelle,
happy.
too.
Of course.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sarah. You did an amazing job.
You
You know, oh my God, you're dumping all this on me. I'm like, yeah, you got this. You got this.
But you did the hard part.
You did that. So of course, I want to take a second just to especially thank Rose, because Rose over there, she made this whole thing happen. And nobody understands how much goes to put together a show. People think that it's so easy. You go see an art show. It's like, you have no idea how much work goes into putting a show together. And I want to really take a moment to thank Rose for pure pleasure working with you. With that being said, so I'm the board president of New Art Center, which is the hosting group for this exhibition, and I organized this exhibition as part of the BIPOC Curator program. But this is not something that just came out of nowhere. Really, Sarah shared with you, we spend so many nights that my husband gets mad at sometimes when I escape in her studio and we start dreaming. And we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. And fast forward, month and month later, I cannot believe we're sitting together here with this wonderful group of artists. Everyone is so special in their own way, but especially I want to thank Rania for, I don't know, I have something, a crush, a female artist crush, and I want to thank you because you are also a female artist that we all aspire to be, someone who is outspoken, who goes out there, do what they want to do, say what they want to say, and do it. So I really want to thank you for coming here and setting the tone for everybody.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you for everybody. That wasn't fair, but thank you.
No, I'm sorry. So, of course, Sarah, we don't need to talk too much, but to answer your questions, I wanted to show you, some of you know a project that I've been doing. So I'm very active on the arts community here in Newton and in Boston, but also I am tightly attached to Lebanon, and I come from a legacy of a family of artists, from my grandfather to my father. And I just came back from Lebanon a month ago, which Sarah was with me actually, and she witnessed the whole journey. And we put together a museum show. So instead of talking about what I'm doing, I want to show you a 5-minute video to tell you a little bit about the story of this mishwar. Mishwar is a word in Arabic.
It's a journey.
That means the journey of going somewhere and coming somewhere. And it kind of sums up a bit what the project is about. What I am as an artist, because yes, I produce artwork, but also I think that everyone is an artist. When you envision something and you make it, you put it together, you create it, you are also an artist in that way. And everyone is an artist in their own way. So I'd like to share with you this, and then if you have any questions at the end, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I think I'm going to project it on the wall here, so maybe you don't want to move it that kind of thing.
So this was the exhibition that I was at in the Beirut.
عشت معه سنتين وبهالسنتين كنت دايما اقول شو هالانسان العظيم
بس كانه مسك ايدي عم يكمل معي.
لو جوال نحن ما كنا موجودين هون اصرت انها تكمل مسيره جدار.
حسيت انه كانه عندي مسج لازم اوصله. اذا انا ما عملته هلا اليوم ما رح ينعمل. It's
now or never. صارت تخبرنا الديتيلز الصغار التفاصيل انه كيف قفل الباب وترك المفتاح معه ما اعتقد حاله رح يرجع. I remember receiving this letter and touching it and smelling it and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy, like I feel I just traveled 75 years in time.
أول شيء مارون ولد بفلسطين بحيفا سنة 1911.
قالت لي كل الليل أنا عم ببكي أنا عم بكتب وعم لحن.
Really enjoyed like seeing the exhibit and especially the personal artifacts. I work a lot with archives and I thought it was very interesting to see it.
وأنا كلهم ديتيلز كثير أثروا فيي، هذا الوجع يلي أنا بحس فيه جربت جيله صوب هيدا الغنية. Took the boat under the burning sky. Understood that your friends were no allies. That was how it became back in 48.
إرث العائلة هدفها كمان نحط تحت جناحنا فنانين حتى صاعدين جداد نهتم فيهم. من هذا ما رح يوقف.
كرتعينا انه اخر شيء نسمي المعرض مشوار بس لنحدده اكثر انه ضروب من فلسطين الى لبنان.
اليوم شخصيا مارون اذا موجود شو بتقول له؟
يا ريته معنا اليوم.
لكن شو هن الثري فاليوز تبع فؤاد توم؟
الجمال والاحساس والحريه.
شو رح ضله ضيق من سنه 48 لليوم؟ من شهيد ضل العنوان مشوار من فلسطين على لبنان.
جويل انت السبيشال جراند دوتر؟
مارون درس على ايديا
فؤاد كان خطاط قبل ما يكون رسام.
الفنان كل لوحه عنده احلى رسم بس تروح ودعها لا باي باي. بس اذا رحت عند ناس بعرفهم لا يعني شو بساعة البدله.
The title Mishwar was really this whole idea of a journey, of an artistic journey, an intellectual journey, the journey of a person, which is really the journey, it's really a universal journey nowadays, right? So I saw the journey of my grandfather, he left, he came, he started over and over again, but we all did the same thing, and all the Lebanese do the same thing. We are always on the move, starting over.
أول مرة بعرض بشكل أنا وبيي مثل نوع من المقارنة مثل الحوار بس كل واحد عنده طريقته. أنا بحب الألوان فيها حركة، غاية الفن جمال.
هو ما بيمضي لوحاته عادة، بس هيدي ماضية وحاطط الريسانس تبعي، يعني هيدي عاملها لإلي وقت أنا خلقت.
أحلى كلمة إنه عندك بنحس كأنه اخذين فاليوم بس نطلع بريتها بنطلع على الواقع المر.
Keeping that heritage, keeping a legacy really brings people together. And reminding people that, you have to be as a family, as a community. It's all about that.
Continuation أول شيء of the family history, the heritage, but also it's 25 years of experience of teaching art and being active in the arts community through the art school that my parents founded. L'exposition se veut un champ de force entre l'écrin, le musée, les archives et les tableaux. Raconter un riche patrimoine pictural, 2 générations, une dynastie moderne au service du Liban.
هذا هو مارون توم، c'est un grand référence.
عاش أكثر من نص حياته بفلسطين.
هيدا المعرض إجا من قلبي.
بعرف إنه في شخص وعائلة ريادية بفن الرسم بس ما كنت بعرف
فؤاد كمان كمل مسيرة التعليم والرسم.
La fondation Fouad et Mayton en un mot, c'est l'héritage. Fouad, c'est la continuité. May, c'est la psychologie. Joelle, c'est la force. Thank you so much for everybody for coming.